Buyers flood to Adelaide. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee that I'm working through, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from Domain, because it's discussing buyers flooding to Adelaide, our second cheapest capital city. Adelaide is a beautiful city. I've been there a few times. I quite enjoy it. The stone architecture in Adelaide is quite unique, the stone and brickwork. In Adelaide, you'll find that some of the older buildings, they have the cornering done in brick because it's more expensive than the rough stone everywhere else. And they look quite lovely. And we can just, let's see if we have any images here of, some of the older buildings, the more monumental buildings. You can see here. See, you've got the shape, lovely stone here, and then you've got the brick on the side, and then you've got the hodgepodge of, found stone just here in the middle between. So it adds a unique Adelaide style to their architecture and the quality of their buildings. And some of these stone buildings just look lovely. They really do. And the only problem is, I know all the architecture students that study at Adelaide Uni, a lot of them have to travel around the country to get any work. The economy isn't quite as big as other capital cities. But I guess if you could work anywhere in the country, there are some bargains to be had in Adelaide. You might get good value for your money. So Australia's second cheapest capital, and the East Coasters are buying property up there. We've had my father's cousin moved over. When he immigrated from Germany years ago, he arrived in Adelaide and he settled in Adelaide, and he worked in the Holden factory for most of his life there. It's a different time. Back then you'd get off the boat, you'd instantly get a job. It's one of Australia's prettiest capital cities. With great food on offer, wineries a short drive away, a huge investment in infrastructure, and no traffic jams. Well, because there's hardly anyone there. And I know the last time I was in Adelaide, the number of homeless people everywhere too on the streets. That's another bonus. And it's now also officially Australia's second cheapest of all its 8 capital cities for homes, with a median property price of just $441,000. And a stampede of inquiries from Sydney and Melbourne buyers keen to snap up bargains. And we'll jump here. We'll have a look at property prices. We can see Adelaide in the red. Sure, it's grown. It has definitely grown significantly since, in this index, it's over 60 points up since 2006. That's a significant climb in your property. But you can see if you're coming from Sydney or Melbourne, it's definitely looking a lot better. Look at Darwin, shoot up and crash right back down. Look at Perth, climbing up and crashing back down. They're the only two that have really had a noticeable correction on this. Interesting. How's all Brisbane doing? We're not doing too badly, We're not doing too badly at all. Adelaide now has the lowest median house price of any capital city bar Darwin in the country. And we're starting to see people looking at us from over the borders at what we have to offer, said Brett Ronfeld, president of the Real Estate Institute of South Australia. Tasmania used to be our greatest rival for price and a great lifestyle, but they've had a massive increase in demand, which is now reflected in an average home priced quite a lot higher than Adelaide's. I think with average house prices quite a lot higher than Adelaide's. I think we've always been a bit of a sleeper on the Australian property market, but now a lot of people are starting to seriously consider coming here and buying. Well, isn't that because Adelaide's probably 20 years behind the rest of the country? That's the running joke, everyone. For those of you overseas who aren't familiar, I'll bring up Google just to show people where Adelaide is. The reason everything's built out of stone is because it's built in a desert pretty much. There's no trees in Adelaide. Even all the power poles, they're all built out of concrete. They're all built out of concrete. I thought it was quite funny when I went down there. And their waves, from someone who grew up on the Gold Coast and lives in Brisbane, Queensland, their waves are a bit of an issue. They're non-existent. So we'll just jump here. You can see, I better turn on places. You can see here, this is Australia, and we've got Queensland up here, Victoria here. This is Adelaide. We'll zoom in. You can see it down here. Borders and labels. So there you go. I mean, it's a nice area. Nice area down there. But you are a bit removed from the east coast of Australia, down the bottom there. On those figures, its median house price is way under most of the others. Sydney's at $885, Melbourne at $686, Canberra at $637, Brisbane at $500, Hobart at $486, Perth at $443. Only Darwin is lower at $393. And there you go. There you go. You can all go to Darwin, too bad about the temperature. For the year prior pandemic, Adelaide also had the most modest change in price, a lift of 1.8% against Sydney's median house price rise of 14.3%. Melbourne's 11.7%. I mean, those are just crazy growths. Crazy. And this is the thing, where people are talking about huge property crashes, where the CBA is predicting like 30% property crashes. I can't. Can you see that happening in some of the other capital cities? Can you see that happening in Adelaide? There's still going to be, I mean, we're in a different world now. People can work remotely. It is now feasible for someone to live in Adelaide and work for a company in Sydney or work for a company in Brisbane. And, maybe just do all your meetings remote and fly up once a week, fly up once a fortnight. Oh no, you've got to pay $200 on a flight once a week, $10,000 a year. And you get a house for half the price. That $400,000 difference you save, you just stick it in a 1% interest account, and there you go. There's your difference, and you might actually get a nicer place. Maybe the only problem with these old stone houses is the maintenance. The maintenance can be a big issue. So it's also a very stable market without the big booms and busts of other capital cities. He said, "We just quietly get on with things." And there's a lot of upside in our market. We're seeing people who used to live here now returning, as well as interstate buyers coming in who see the value and money being spent on infrastructure and job creation and a relaxed lifestyle for bringing up a family. The pandemic has contributed hugely to the rise of interest from Sydney-siders and Melburnians in the Adelaide market, both as owner-occupiers and investors, believes Stephen Williams of Williams Real Estate. While the property market was less affected in Adelaide than on the eastern seaboard, spending so long at home during the lockdown gave people plenty of time to ponder and reevaluate their life choices. Now, this isn't just a throwaway line here in this article. This is going to have a lot of people questioning what they've done. They've actually gotten off the rat race for the first time. They've jumped off the rat race and they're starting to reevaluate things. And I agree. We're going to see, that's going to have positive and negative effects. The inquiry level from both interstate and overseas has been phenomenal, she said. They're seeing really good value for money and a wonderful lifestyle, particularly now it's so easy to work from home. People can buy so much more here for their money, and they can live close to nature in beautiful leafy suburbs, have a herb garden and chicken shed, and lead a much more relaxed life. Adelaide agent Andrew Downings of City Realty, for instance, is currently selling a picturesque 2-bedroom sandstone cottage, fully renovated with heritage features preserved for $798,000 to $825 by the city centre at 360 Carrington Street. You get quite a lot of interest from interstate buyers, but it's a bit difficult at the moment with borders still closed, so they're more on a reconnaissance mission. So online inquiries, said Mr. Downing, who's also just sold a 2-bedroom renovated heritage cottage for $620. But when the borders open, I definitely think they'll be down looking. Adelaide is a magnificent place to live, safe and quiet and affordable, with the best food and wine. I think when people come from Sydney and Melbourne, they're pleasantly surprised. They have a perception that it's a boring place to live, but they find out the opposite is true. Bell Property Glenegg agent Rhys Diggins sold a home on Monday to a Sydney investor whose daughter lives in Adelaide, so could inspect it for him. He'd sold a property in New South Wales and could see more value here. Everything is pretty reasonable priced, and you don't get the highs and lows here. It's pretty steady. Listings are pretty tight at the moment, but people are getting more confident now and are feeling more positive. He has a 3-bedroom freestanding family home between the city and the beach at Flinders Park for $565. I mean, there you go. And that looks nice. Although I don't like the houses that don't have the awnings on them. Everyone, because that's potential shade that can fall onto your window and can provide cooling for your building. But I know it's a stylistic choice. While all agents report a drop in listings during the pandemic crisis, discounting has been higher in March and April this year compared to the same time in 2019. In March, there were 11.1% of listings with a discount against 3.5% in 19. So they are having to resort to discounting in Adelaide even. And in April, 8.3 as opposed to 3.5. In May 2020, according to SQM Research, there were 2,043 listings live for 30 to 60 days, which meant they weren't sold in the first 4 weeks, but the figures were down from 2,536 in April. So does that mean people are selling, or does that mean people are pulling them off the market? So there you go, a nice little fluff piece about buyers potentially looking at Adelaide. Could it just be more search inquiries, or is there some weight to the argument that people are reevaluating? It could be. And this is where I think in some regards, those of us who are living in, well, not Sydney or Melbourne, okay, not the centre of the universe according to Australia, those two cities with regard to property, may not experience the same sharp hit as other sectors. We are still going to appear psychologically much more affordable for our property in the other cities compared to these big ones. But then again, if they start tanking, everything else will take a hit as well. What do you think? Do you think the other cities would take a huge 30% hit as opposed, well, when compared to Sydney and Melbourne? I mean, you can look at the growth there, everyone. So it's Sydney, Melbourne, and Hobart that have just had the biggest growth. Melbourne, I mean, definitely over 120 points above a 0 point in 2006. Just crazy. Just crazy, the growth there. 10% a year for property. We'll have to see, everyone. And Adelaide, let me know if you live there. Are you a fan of it? I mean, I love the trees and some of the streets there in Adelaide. In some regards, it reminds me a lot of Toowoomba here in Queensland. Beautiful tree-lined streets, just a little bit slower than some of the more hectic, busy cities. And not as hilly and all hodgepodged as Brisbane. But it gets bloody cold. So forget about it. And hot too. And hot in Adelaide. I remember that. It gets hot and cold and the streets are just straight forever. Oh, well, let me know your thoughts and opinions, everyone. Are you rushing to jump into the Adelaide market? Or are you based in Sydney and Melbourne and just looking at your options in other cities? Perhaps you've reevaluated certain things and think, you know what? Maybe it's time to slow down. As always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there's a few ways you can. Simply interacting with the channel, liking, sharing, commenting. It helps overcome the challenges of the YouTube algorithm. The more interactions, the better. If you're a fan and want to support us a little bit extra, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon for a small monthly fee. You can use our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay, or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. We receive a small commission that doesn't cost you anything. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, Pocket Squares, handmade by Rachel. We also have Gold Pass with the Perth Mint, or you can use PayPal to support us that way. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.